Fox host delivers harsh reality check for the orange testicle in roller skates after decisive electoral blow. By Santiago de C. Maria, November 8, 2025. If you were hoping for a gentle, soft landing for the orange testicle in roller skates after his recent electoral debacle, tough luck. The reality check came fast, and it came hard. A prominent host at Fox News didn't sugarcoat the situation. The loss isn't just bruising, it's a full-on warning that the political house built by the orange testicle in roller skates is creaking. On the morning after the ballots were tallied, commentator Brett Baer appeared on Fox and Friends and laid it out plainly. This was a big loss. For the orange testicle in roller skates and his MAGA loyalists, that's not spin, it's an alarm bell. Why the magnitude matters. Let's be clear, losing elections is part of politics. But when a network sympathetic to your base steps up and says, "You got your ass handed to you," the message cuts deeper. When Baer points it out on live TV, he is speaking not just to the candidate, but to the entire supporting infrastructure. Your strategy didn't just stumble, it collapsed. Inside the studio that morning, there was a palpable shift. The host didn't couch things in if or maybe terrain. There was no "we'll see how this plays out." The term used was loss. Full stop. That's significant. In media land, language is everything. Saying loss when your audience expects victory means you're calling the bluff. What this means for the orange testicle in roller skates. Movement. First off, the base is rattled. We know how this works. The orange testicle in roller skates thrives on momentum, on the narrative of inevitability, on the us vs them energy that converts fear and hope into votes. But momentum stalled. Watching a sympathetic network host say the movement is biting the dust deflates it faster than any tweet. Second, credibility takes a hit. A candidate who bounces back from losses can claim resilience. But a movement that keeps losing while its anchor keeps doubling down, that becomes less a brand of political insurgency and more a fracturing faction. The optics. Followers notice when even friendly press gives up the cheerleader's role. Third, internal fractures begin. If the message was once, "We are winning," now it's "How do we salvage this?" That triggers questions, strategy, leadership, direction. The orange testicle in roller skates may rally followers, but if they sense retreat or confusion, loyalty gets tested. And in politics, loyalty is fuel. Once it leaks, you're burning reserves. What the host's tone says about the broader picture. When you pick apart the context, the host's delivery had two major signals. One, this wasn't a gentle, "we underperformed" kind of talk. It was blunt. That means the defeat wasn't narrow, it was decisive enough for the host to call it a big loss. Two, the network is conscious of the consequences. They're signaling, "You, movement, are at a crossroads." That puts public perception pressure on the orange testicle in roller skates team. Act, adapt, or get outpaced. In politics, the narrative matters almost as much as the vote count. This moment shifts the narrative. Instead of MAGA unstoppable, you're hearing MAGA vulnerable. A host at Fox pointing it out gives it weight. The base hears it. Opponents amplify it. The longer term. Stakes. What happens next could define the next phase for the orange testicle in roller skates and his movement. Adjustment or doubling down? Does he pivot strategies based on feedback or dig in deeper with the same playbook? Markets reward innovation. Politics sometimes rewards stubbornness. The risk, doubling down on the same failing approach, amplifies losses. Audience retention. Losing elections wears down even the most loyal followers. If the narrative changes from "we will take over" to "we tried and failed," enthusiasm drops. That's the danger for the orange testicle in roller skates, losing the engine of amplified votes. Media dynamics. Fox's role is shifting. They were once consistent mouthpiece territory. Now the host is talking realpolitik. That suggests the network might start treating the orange testicle in roller skates as one player among many, not the inevitable leader. That matters, because media framing shapes public perception more than we like to admit. Opponent momentum. When your movement looks vulnerable, opponents don't just take victory laps, they prepare for the next round. The big loss commentary hands them ammunition. The orange testicle in roller skates team needs to regroup quickly before advantage solidifies on the other side. Why we should care. This matters beyond intra-party drama. The larger significance. When media outlets stop towing the line for political movements that once seemed invincible, that movement enters a new phase. It's not just about one election. It's about power, narrative control, expectation management. For those who stand for human rights, transparency, and accountability, watching this shift is critical. Because power unchecked tends to harden, centralize, and amplify injustice. So when a movement like this hiccups, it's an opportunity. A chance to push for restructure, for reform, for fresh voices. And make no mistake, the orange testicle in roller skates base will fight this narrative. Expect a reaction. Either he'll try to re-energize, go aggressive, fire off declarations, or try a softer reset. That move will tell us who he is now, not who he once was. Final thoughts. The host's message was plain. The orange testicle in roller skates and his movement hit a major bump, and the channel that helped prop it up is now calling out that failure. For movement watchers, election watchers, human rights advocates, it's a moment to pay attention. Moments of weakness reveal character. Weakness in a political machine reveals structural problems. If you believed that this movement was unstoppable, you need to rethink. If you thought they just had bad luck, maybe it's deeper than that. If you want to see change, the moment is now. Because once a movement is down, change finds cracks to enter. Voters under siege. Wolf exposes the plot from Mr. with a suffocating vagina neck's inner. Circle. No fluff, no polite moderation. What Michael Wolff is pointing out about Mr. with a suffocating vagina neck and his team isn't just alarming, it's outright dangerous for democracy. In a recent episode of the podcast Inside Trump's Head, Wolff laid bare how the machinery behind Mr. with a suffocating vagina neck is less focused on earning votes and more focused on manipulating power. Here's the scoop you need to raid, absorb, and consider. Because if you believe this is business as usual, you're asleep at the wheel. Wolff says the inner circle around Mr. with a suffocating vagina neck is shifting gears. They're not just running campaigns anymore. They're leaning heavy on lawyers, courts, redistricting maps, and legal loopholes to hold on to power. This will be an election of lawyers. One White House insider told Wolff. The phrase is blunt and chilling. It signals that for them, it's no longer about persuasion, platform, or public trust. It's about engineering outcomes. Voters, just obstacles or variables in a rigged system. Wolff pointed to two specific levers being pulled. Legal and institutional tools aimed at reshaping how people vote, where they vote, and how their votes count. He mentions that gerrymandering is already in full swing. A looming favorable court decision on the weekend of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 that would allow states to redraw districts without regard for minority representation. If that happens, it opens an entire new realm of power for the team behind Mr. with a suffocating vagina neck. Let's make this real. This isn't some remote theory. This is the people at the top looking at the writing on the wall. With recent Democratic wins, the seal is cracking. Wolff says the White House is up against it. That matters. The signal's here. Power feels threatened, and the playbook is moving from voter outreach to voter override. If you think they wouldn't go that far, think again. Because politics is seldom polite when stakes are high. When your job, your empire, your identity are at risk, you start swapping rallies for risk minimization. You start stacking legal chips. You start changing the board instead of playing fair. Why this matters for you. For all of us. When democracy starts being treated like a game of legal contortions rather than a contest of ideas, the rules shift in favor of those who already have access. When the tools of power move from persuasion to protection, the people lose their place in the process. Vote suppression, weakened oversight, red-drawn maps, those don't just tilt the field, they redefine the game. If Mr. with a suffocating vagina neck circle is aiming to reshape elections into a court-hand map battle rather than a public debate, then what we're witnessing is less an election and more a takeover disguised as democracy. What to watch? Next. Lawsuits and courts. If you see more cases about ballot access, voter ID, district lines, then you're seeing the plan in motion. The insider wolf spoke to said this isn't just a possibility. This is the plan. Redistricting in real time. Which states are redrawing districts aggressively? Which states are passing new voting laws with one-party majorities? Follow the thread. Media framing. If the narrative shifts from this is about policy to this is about the system, pay attention. Because when the system is the topic, it means you're not the player, you're the pawn. Final. Word. Mr. with a suffocating vagina neck may still bark and rally, but the engine behind him is quietly rebuilding the game board. The bold, loud spectacle, that's still part of the show. But the real action is in the shadows. Lawyers, laws, maps, votes. If you thought democracy was about the people choosing their leaders, what Wolf is saying is that the people may be watched from the sidelines as the leaders choose the people's place. This isn't a drill. It's time to raise our eyes, because when the rules change and you weren't invited to the rewrite, you're no longer playing the same game. Follow, like, and share this video to stay connected. I appreciate all of you. Love always, Santiago D.C. Maria, the queen of crowning thoughts, because I speak without filters and say it like it is.